Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Miss Rizky Dwi Amrina MPD as a lecturer of critical reading and also all of my beloved friends. First, thanks to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala who has given us blessing and mercy so that we can gather in online class. Second, salawat and salam also delivered to our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam who has guided us from the darkness to the brightness. Well, my name is Tiwi Nopiani and my partner's name is Nurul Maskana. We are from Group 9. Today we would like to discuss about Unit 3 is people who have made a difference, and Unit 4 is about inventions that are changing our life. Okay, in this unit we are talking about read faster or our speed in reading long text. Okay guys, I will start reading. The first text is about Dr. Paul Farmer. But before start, I will use a stopwatch to count how long I read a long text. Okay guys, I will start the stopwatch. Uh, Dr. Paul Farmer. In Dr. Paul Farmer's view, health is a fundamental human right. He believed it should not be dependent on income or education, and he has devoted his life to bringing medical care to the poorest people in developing countries. Many doctors assumed that people in these countries were too poor and uneducated to manage complex medical treatments. But Dr. Farmer has demonstrated that this is not true. Farmer was born in Massachusetts in 1960 and grew up in Florida with his parents and 5 brothers and sisters. They lived for a while in a converted school bus and then in a broken down boat, much of the time without running water. One summer when the family needed cash, Farmer, his father, and his 2 brothers got jobs picking orange, and that is where he first heard Haitians speaking Creole, the language that was to become so important to him, in spite of their financial difficulties. The farmer home was filled with books, and the children were encouraged to pursue their interests and talents. After graduating from high school at the top of his class, Farmer received a full scholarship to Duke University in North Carolina. As a college student, he heard about the terrible conditions for migrant workers on nearby farms. Among these workers were some Haitians whom he got to know. This sparked his interest in Haiti, and eventually he took a trip to the small Caribbean island country. While in Haiti, he spent time in the central highland region where the people were very poor. They lived in mud huts and had little food and almost no medical care, but he came to admire their spirit and ability to adapt. Farmer continued his studies at Harvard Medical School, where he earned degrees in both medicine and medical anthropology. He returned to Haiti many times, learning the language and working with local doctors. In 1987, with a few friends, he founded a charity organization, Partners in Hope, or PIH, based in Boston, Massachusetts. Their first project was to build a small clinic in the village of Kench in central Haiti. Over 2 decades, the Kench Center San Milasante expanded into a large facility. It now cares for more than 220,000 patients a year, with a 104-bed hospital and clinics for women's and children's health, eye care, and surgery. The Kench Center has become a worldwide model for community-based health care. Two principles rule there. First, no patient should ever be turned away. Second, patients should not have to travel long distance to find help. Dr. Farmer says he once met a woman who had carried her child in her arms for 3 hours to reach the hospital and then 3 hours more to get home. Afterward, she told him her arms were so sore she could not use them for weeks. Farmer realized itself. Farmer realized then that they needed to go out to the people and not make the people come to them. Kench health workers, including Farmer himself, regularly travel to the villages to check on patients. Farmer has found that traveling to the villages is important for another reason. In a poor country like Haiti, improvements in health are only possible if living conditions also improve. When Farmer visits a village, he looks not only at people with health problems, but also at the houses and the general situation. Over the years, thanks to Partners in Health, the villages around Kench have acquired clean drinking water and the houses have been rebuilt with rainproof roofs and concrete floors. Farmer spends the greater part of every year in Haiti, which continues to be the main focus of his work, but he is constantly traveling. Through Partners in Health, he has become involved in projects in Peru, Rwanda, Russia, Kazakhstan, Latvia, and Azerbaijan, having become one of the world's leading specialists in treating HIV or AIDS and tuberculosis. He attends conferences and consults with doctors around the world. His goal is to convince the world's medical experts that even in the most difficult social and economic conditions, it is possible to treat people successfully. In developing countries, for example, most international health organizations have refused to treat patients with drug-resistant tuberculosis. They claim that the treatment was too expensive and that the patients would not be capable of following doctors' instructions. Partners in Health has shown, however, that the same treatment that works in the United States can work with patients anywhere. Furthermore, they have shown that it is possible to get the medicines at a lower cost. For his work among the world's most vulnerable populations, Dr. Farmer has won many important awards. He continues to consult and teach part of the year at some of the world's most famous hospitals and universities. He is also the subject of a best-selling book by Tracy Kidder, Mountains Beyond Mountains: The Quest of Dr. Paul Farmer, a man who would cure the world. But most of the money Farmer earns from his work or his awards is immediately given to Partners in Health. And despite his fame, Dr. Farmer still thinks of himself first and foremost as a doctor. He has not given up a doctor's simplest pleasures and responsibilities, such as walking for hours along dirt tracks to treat sick people in Haitian hill villages. Farmer says it helped remind him why he became a doctor in the first place, to treat the patient at hand. The title of Kidder's book comes from a Haitian saying that Farmer likes to quote, "After mountains, there are mountains." In other words, beyond every problem there is another. The best we can do is to solve each problem one at a time. Okay guys, let's see the duration when I read the first text is 7 minutes. Okay guys, let's start to read the next text. Is about Crystal Engine Cloud. I will use stopwatch 2 to count how long I read the second text. Okay guys, let's start. Crystal Engine Cloud. For more than 40 years, artist Crystal Engine Cloud have been challenging the public's idea of what art can be. Working together, they create pieces known as installation art on a giant scale. In these pieces, they wrap entire bridges or buildings in fabric, or stretch a nylon fence for miles along country fields. These gentle disturbances, as the artists call them, temporarily change places that we often take for granted and inspire people to see their world new. Christo Javashev was born in Bulgaria on June 13, 1935, and on the very same day, Jean-Claude de Guilleban was born to French parents in Morocco. Christo left Bulgaria in 1958 and settled in Paris. Soon afterward, he took an assignment to paint a portrait of Jean-Claude's mother, who had moved to Paris, and he fell in love with the daughter. Christo and Jean-Claude were married and began collaborating on art. Though in the first years, only Christo took credit for their work. In 1964, they moved to New York City where they still live. In a custom they began as young artists. Christo and Jean-Claude go by their first names only. At the start of their career, their works of installation art were small. Using the technique they became famous for, they covered motorcycles, trees, and open spaces with cloths or sheets of plastic. By hiding the small details and decoration, they hoped the true beauty of an object of space would be more evident. As interest in their work grew, they went on to larger installations. In 1968, they wrapped entire art museum in Switzerland and the United States. Over the next 30 years, Christo and Jean Claude completed nearly 20 major projects. They wrapped the Pont Neuf, a bridge in Paris. They surrounded 11 Florida islands with pink skirts, and they constructed 3,100 20-foot tall blue and yellow umbrellas in California and Japan. The project that made them most famous, however, was in New York City. In February 2005, they designed and organized the installation of 7,500 tall black metal gates hung with orange-colored fabric along 23 miles of walkways in Central Park. For the 2 weeks that the gates were up, the park was filled with thousands of people. Both New Yorkers and visitors from out of town wanted to see this transformation of the park. Just to keep going through the gates, people walked to corners of the park where they had never been before. Under the gates, the walkers felt as if they were strolling under saffron-colored sails. The bright fabric fluttering in the wind created a whole new dimension to the normally black and white winter scenery. Observed from one of New York City's skyscrapers, the gates look like a river of bright color flowing through the park. They create a feeling of joyful celebration and brought New Yorkers together. The inspiration for the gates, as the installation was informally called, came from the initial 1854 design for Central Park. The original designers had planned for gates along the park's surrounding walls, but those gates were never built. Christo and Jean Claude focused on the fact that New Yorkers love walking, and that Central Park is one of their favorite places for walking and for meeting. The gate structures were designed to mirror the grid of the city streets near the park. Tall and narrow, they seemed to invite people to walk through them. The fabric was chosen carefully and cut in such a way that it could swing freely in the wind and seemed to follow the carving paths on which the gates were built. Christo and Jean Claude first proposed the idea for the gates 26 years earlier, but New York officials at the time did not welcome the project. In the course of trying to get permission from the city office in charge of the park, the artist received a vast collection of documents. This includes a 245-page book published in 1981, which explained why the project could not be complete. Christo and Jean Claude have kept all these documents, along with all the drawings and papers regarding the design, which they consider to be part of the artwork itself. No matter how long and frustrating it was, getting permission was part of the process of creating the gates. Christo and Jean Claude recognized that their artwork, in this case, was not made about Central Park, it was made out of Central Park. In spite of all the delays and objections, the artists persisted. They received building permits for the gates in 2003 by order of Mayor Michael Bloomberg. Several more years were required for the design and the construction of the 7,500 structures with their pieces of orange fabric. And finally, on February 13, 2005, the gates were opened. For the actual installation and removal of the gates, 900 workers were required. It is important to note that no public money was used for the gates. As for all of their installation, Christo and Jean Claude raised the money privately by selling drawings, artwork, and models to collectors. When the gates came down, Christo and Jean Claude gave away or recycled all the materials used in the project. This is an important part of their artistic philosophy. Nothing they make is permanent, and what they make should not harm the environment in any way. When asked about the meaning of the gates, Jean Claude said, "We do not build meanings, we do not build messages, we do not build symbols, we only build art." Some art critics have said that their work is not serious or is unattractive. However, the crowds in Central Park seemed to feel otherwise. Okay guys, the duration is 6 minutes. Okay, thank you very much. The next explanation will explain by Nurul Maskana.